already?
We are.
Okay. All right, I'd like to call this meeting of the Clarksburg Select Board for Wednesday, January 22nd to order. We have a quorum. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Come on in, ladies. Like that jacket.
How are you this evening? How are you?
Okay, first up, we have the Mohawk Trail Woodlands Partnership grant through the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission. Without objection, we're going to postpone action on that to our March 11th meeting.
Agreed.
Okay, all
I
in favor?
have some information from Tom, though, if you want to.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had issued everything to us, Pat.
Next up, we got the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, an alternate delegate appointment. Rebecca, do you want to speak to that?
Berkshire Regional Planning has reached out to the planning board here and to the select board. By law, our planning board needs to have someone appointed, and the select board should try to appoint someone from within the community as an alternate. So I guess I would appeal to the board and to appeal to residents to, if they're interested in serving, either as the primary or as the alternate delegate.
Have we checked with Greg Vigna at all?
Yes, yes. I've emailed him and I talked with him last
Is
week.
there anybody on the board that would want to be a delegate?
Not right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
So we don't have a primary either.
Right,
We don't have a primary.
right, exactly.
We need
We don't
two.
have a rep to Berkshire Regional Planning.
what do you have? You signed up, you volunteered for something. Forgot what it was.
Waste management?
Well, maybe it was with Carl.
Yeah, I'm the
Yeah.
alternate, yeah.
Yeah, for the waste district.
But you have to be a Clarksburg citizen, right?
Yeah, it
Resident.
may be any resident of the town.
You know, what I could do, I could nominate myself
I'll second that.
to be an alternate delegate for the Berkshire Regional Planning. We have to vote on that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Jeff, you're going to make a motion.
I'll make a motion that Ron is the alternate delegate to the BRPC, Berkshire Regional Planning Commission.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so move, that's done. Okay, let's see. We have a warrant for the presidential primaries on March 3rd. Is it here somewhere? Okay. So, let's see. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Wilton Galvin, Secretary of Commonwealth, warrant for the presidential primaries. In the name of the Commonwealth, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of said city or town who are qualified to vote in primaries to vote at Precinct 1 located at Clarksburg Senior Center, 712 West Cross Roads on Tuesday, the 3rd day of March 2020, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the following purpose: to cast their votes in the presidential primaries for candidates of political parties for the following offices. Presidential preference for this Commonwealth, State Committee, Berkshire, Hampshire, Franklin, and Hampden districts, State Committee woman, Berkshire, Hampshire, Franklin, and Hampden districts, and Town Committee, Clarksburg. So, as far as the rest of it, I don't see, we just have to act on it?
Right.
Okay. Motion to accept the,
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the warrant for presidential primary as written.
okay, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, next we're going to the budget process. Rebecca put this on the agenda, and I think it was asked through the Finance Committee, was that?
Yeah, it was a combination of discussions that had come up at the last Finance Committee meeting, and I really just wanted to know how the process works here in Clarksburg. Some towns, they operate a little bit differently.
Right.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that.
How did,
the
you know,
select
I
board was on
wasn't sure
board.
before I got involved in the town, because when I got into the town, they put me on the finance committee, made me chairman.
Yeah.
So I changed the way how we went about it, because I had the finance committee go through everything. I don't know what you guys did prior. Was it the select board that handled it?
The select board's heavily involved in putting the budget together, for a lot of different reasons. None of the numbers ever jived.
Yeah.
We always had to, we were always in constant conflict.
Yeah.
And then, as the finance committee, when Mark and Laurie Albin came on, they really got it in order. Very, very impressive. Now that Jim Stakanis is here, I find that the role of the select board has been less and less. The last year I was here, I remember that pretty much, and of course, Jim and Mark are retired now, and now Deborah Fave's on the committee as well. As I remember, they would meet during the day.
Yes.
And that was kind of important because, you have the treasurer, you have the accountant here.
Yeah.
And so I understood that. And then Carla would kind of keep us surprised as to what had been said, Unfortunately, the select board just gets the numbers.
Right.
You don't get the interaction of, why somebody needs this, why, But the last year, it worked out well. Things have changed now, where our numbers are all jiving, everything is in sync. So, old school Jeff really wants to be involved.
Yeah.
But as far as convenience for this finance committee and everybody that works in town hall, I guess the way that it was done last year, I didn't realize you were on the finance committee.
Yeah, the very first year, remember we brought in a budget that was pretty level funded?
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
pretty organized.
Yeah.
But to me, the system that's in place now, I know it's a little different than what we've been used to, but I find it's more complete. And when we get it, we have the right to increase or decrease anyways. We have that right, the final
absolutely.
version. But I think they go through each department, and I have no problem with the way it is. It's whatever the board wants to do. If it'd be more involvement with the board, more time. And like I said to Rebecca, I said, you're busy. Everybody's busy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to bring that, I wouldn't call it a burden, but that back to the select board, where the select board would sort of meet with all different venues or all different departments in the town and put something together. I think the way it is right now, I have a lot of confidence in the board that's put together now for the finance committee, that they'll decipher everything. And ultimately, we have the last look at it anyway. So we have the right to, like I said earlier, increase or add or cut. So, whatever.
So, again, I wasn't here last year,
Yeah.
but I'm not used to having just a finalized version in front of me.
Yeah.
So Rebecca is at the meetings, am I correct?
Right,
Yeah.
yes.
So maybe on our meeting following the...
An update or something? Or?
An update,
Yeah,
just to
that's
keep
fine.
us,
That's okay with you?
Right,
what's
yeah,
going
and
on.
I was, after I'll be preparing the budget summaries with the accountant, so that you'll see the revenue portion of things, the expense, see where we are with our, and trying to, where we are, and what we have left over, what we think already going into next year, so you'll be able to make a really informed decision on your capital purchases. I like how things are working with the finance committee. I do think it's important that the select board have the department heads meet. I'd hate to see department heads come in during the day, then have to come back and
Right.
explain the same things over again.
Right.
I would suggest maybe at your next meeting, probably not the next one in February, but maybe the end of the month, when I meet with Finance Monday, just ask if they would consider having a joint finance committee and select board meeting, even if it's just once in February and once again in March, so that you can have and certainly department heads can come in if they'd like to. They have not started to meet with department heads yet. That's their plan. They'll give us a schedule on Monday, what they plan on doing, whether they're going to meet every week or just every 2 weeks like they're doing now.
Maybe it's a little early in February to call a joint meeting, but definitely in March, if it's all right with the board.
Well, listen, I have no problem with it. I think it's not a bad idea, if maybe even if we could invite them to a select board meeting.
Well, that's what we used to do. It used to be a joint meeting.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
so they can keep us abreast of where they're at.
Absolutely. But I mean, I wouldn't want to bring the department heads in during the day and then bring them back at night. Like
No. I just think we brought the finance guys in, whoever come in
Yeah.
for finance. Jim Sikanis is the chair now. Mark sort of stepped away from it, and so we could do that.
No, I'm good with it. I mean, it seemed to work the last year I was here. It obviously worked last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Yeah, I try to make all the finance meetings. I won't be able to, this Monday, I won't be here, I'll be in Boston, but I try to be at all the finance meetings,
Yeah.
just to, and they haven't really gotten into the meat and potatoes of this budget yet
Yeah.
anyway, so.
Yeah, I'll have budget packets for the select board as well as the finance for next
Yeah.
week. So whatever I turn into them, I'll be turning into the board. So you'll have time to start.
That'd be
Looking at
good,
Yeah.
I just don't want the final version in front of me, you know?
Absolutely, no, I hear you. You want to be able to see, I know how you are, you like to see everything before.
As we go.
Yeah, that's the way it should be, actually.
Yeah.
So there's no surprises.
Yeah, I don't like surprises.
No, we all don't.
Yeah, I know. But not
All right.
good.
So we're good on that then?
I am, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so next up, we have I'll read this little communication. School Choice Week proclamation, January 26th through February 1st, 2020. Rebecca got this communication. Always on my head. As received from the President of the National School Week, Andrew Campanella, am I saying that right? Does the town want to recognize next week as School Choice Week? And if we do, there's a little proclamation that I can read, and we can act on it. Board choice.
Yeah.
Okay,
We have it, let's do it.
okay. All right, so I'll read this little proclamation. Clarksburg School Choice Week. Whereas all children in Clarksburg should have access to the highest quality education possible, and whereas Clarksburg recognizes the important role that an effective education plays in preparing all students in Clarksburg to be successful adults, and whereas quality education is critically important to the economic vitality of Clarksburg, and whereas Clarksburg is home to a multitude of high-quality public and non-public schools from which parents can choose for their children, in addition to families who educate their children in home. And whereas educational variety not only helps to diversify our economy, but also embraces the vibrancy of our community. And whereas Clarksburg has many high-quality teaching professionals in all types of school settings who are committed to educating our children. And whereas School Choice Week is celebrating across the country by millions of students, parents, educators, schools, and organizations to raise awareness of the need for an effective educational options. Now, therefore, now therefore, the Clarksburg Select Board do hereby recognize January 26th through February 1st, 2020 as Clarksburg School Choice Week, and I call this observance to the attention of all our citizens. Okay, we good? Okay.
All right, perfect.
All right, now, we'll move to the town administrator's report.
Okay. On the accessibility part of things, I'm starting to work with the Mass Office on Disability and our ADA Commission
Yep.
on the next step of doing a self-evaluation and transition plan.
Okay.
I'll be working with them on a planning grant for that. We're, as you already know, working on the FY21 budget still. I did meet with DOT and the highway foreman last week to go over our projects and our funding resources, so we can try to make sense of where we're going forward, whether we do it short-term and or long-term. The sewer system improvement, I have talked with Mass DEP about the consent order, so we're still working on that, and I'm waiting for the next site visit with the engineer to see what we can come up with a paper contract to enlist in their services. So I'm hoping by the next meeting, the meeting after, I'll have a contract for the engineer for that. I don't have any facility updates, other than the fact that I did hear back, you had asked at your last meeting about appealing to the governor's office
Yeah.
about a site visit for the elementary school
For the
roof
roof.
project. And I have heard back that they will not be making a visit in Clarksburg. So I wanted to let you know. I have reached out to the building inspector because I'd like to see a report on the roof findings, you know, because I'm hearing bits and pieces, and I want to see her professional opinion. The planning grant that I just mentioned, I'll start, the application period doesn't open until August, but I've asked the ADA Commission here in town to start working on what they started last year on different buildings, but they really need to start a full depth evaluation, and the Office on Disability is going to walk us through some of that, and I'm hoping they'll be able to get a grant towards getting that plan done, so then we can look to get a project grant. That's how the process works. I'm working with Department of Energy Resources on the Green Communities grant. I'm hoping that they will let us repurpose some of the money to get a hot water tank at the highway garage. We do not have hot water at that facility, which I did not know.
33 years.
Again, I'm just waiting on the okay from DER that we can go ahead and use some of that money, backing out of the insulation projects here at the town hall and being able to use it for that hot water tank. I have to get approval first. Otherwise, if they say no, then I'll go back to getting the insulation quotes and get those weatherization projects done. And I did hear from MEMA this week that we did get approval for funding and to work on our hazard mitigation plan, and that is $21,000, and the $7,000 in-kind services the town will provide. So that's it.
That's it?
For the last 2 weeks, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's enough.
You're asking the building inspector to inspect, do an inspection of the roof of the school?
Yeah, I've just asked, and maybe, I'm sure she has everything on file, I just haven't seen anything.
Okay, okay.
All right, unfinished business, I just want to remind everybody, have you seen in your mail, the census was distributed to the residents in Clarksburg. Get them filled out, and get them returned. Topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting, we have one.
Yes, we do.
Rebecca told me that is a Berkshire Regional Plan, is a block grant. I'm familiar with that from my time as a city councilor in North Adams. That was a great program, 0% interest. It was all income
That's right.
associated, right?
That's right.
So go ahead, Rebecca, you can.
You've pretty much summed everything up. That's a good meeting now.
Stretch it out.
Yeah, Berkshire Regional Planning called yesterday and wondered, Lee and Lennox are planning to submit an application. They've got a hearing scheduled in February, and because your schedule's really full for your February 12th agenda, I wanted to see what we could do to try to get regional planning in tonight, rather than wait till the end of February, so.
Question for you guys. It's just, can you just,
I can walk you through it.
yes, yes.
Okay. My name is Patricia Mullins.
Okay.
I'm the Community and Economic Development Program Manager at BRPC.
Yeah.
I'm here to talk to you about joining in an application in a regional application with Lennox and Lee for a FY20 CDBG grant application. So that is an application that BRPC will be assisting the towns in submitting. So essentially, we'll be drafting the application with the assistance of the Lennox Town Planner and any other assistance that any of the other towns want to give us. But we'll take responsibility for getting that grant application in. Now, the CDBG grants are HUD-funded grants. However, they make an allocation to the states, so the money comes into the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development. And they can take it at that point and they can run their program. So in Massachusetts, it so happens that this is a competitive grant application. The least amount of money for one town, the most amount of money for one town would be $800,000. And for several towns going together, it's up to $1.3 million. Of course, some of that is administrative and program delivery, but that would leave somewhere in the neighborhood of $900,000 for, or a little bit more than that, for actual construction costs.
Disbursement, yeah.
For actual construction costs. So by the three towns going in together, the application is stronger because, number one, it shows that it's a regional grant and that basically you're sharing in the administrative services that would be provided. In this case, we have an MOU with us. If you're not ready to act on it, I understand, but I would really like to get some indication as to whether or not the town is interested in pursuing this grant. We've already started getting some posters and things ready in hopes that you will. But when BRPC submits one of these grants for a town, we usually start a couple of months in advance, and I can tell you that there will be a crew of folks, probably 4 to 6 people, that will actually be working on assembling this grant. So there's a lot of time and energy, staff time, that goes into putting them together. So before we formally commit to working with the town, we ask to have an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, saying that you agree that you want to join this grant application, and that you understand that if the application is successful, and that the lead town would be Lennox.
Yes.
Lennox, all of the funds would funnel through Lennox.
Yes.
Neither of the other towns that are involved would have any direct fiscal responsibility. However, you would get the benefit of a share of the projects.
That is my question. So say a town of our size, if they were successful with the grant, what kind of dollars would we be looking at for the town of Clarksburg?
Well, it would probably be roughly $300,000 worth of
Okay.
housing rehab
So,
projects.
so say if you're successful and Clarksburg had $300,000, so what's the criteria you need to meet to utilize that?
Okay, so we have with us a chart that shows you exactly what that would be, and these things would be posted in various places around town so that people would know about it too. For a family, a household with just one individual, it's $49,700 is the income limit.
That's it.
Right. For a household with 8 people, it's $93,700. So this one is just an example. This is actually for the town, another town. Let's just say another town. But those income limits are the same for everyone in Berkshire County.
So you have,
So these grants are for our 0% interest deferred payment forgivable loans.
Yep.
The lead town would hold liens against the property for
For
each of these.
non-payment, or is it because of non-payment, or?
There's no payment whatsoever for the homeowner, but there is a 15-year lien that is placed against the property.
And the reason for?
The reason for that is to, somewhat prevent folks from flipping the house after we've done all this work on it.
Okay.
So in other words, they don't have to pay on the loan at all.
Okay.
We manage the projects. We have a list of pre-qualified contractors, and we follow 30B procurement up to a point.
Okay.
In that everything, the homeowner's identity has to remain somewhat privileged. So we don't put this in the newspaper.
Yeah, right.
We don't advertise in the newspaper. We send out these pre-qualified guys. Then we do a pre-bid walkthrough, and we have a bid opening. And we expect the homeowner to take the lowest bid unless they want to pay the difference. If they are happy with the contractor, we enter into a contract. We have a pre-construction meeting, just like we would on any kind of municipal project, but the contract is actually between the homeowner and the contractor, and we manage the process.
Okay, administrative costs to the town, is there any?
Well, there would not be any cost to the town of Clarksburg.
Okay.
There are administrative costs in order to run the grant, and
Right.
so, yes, there are. It's something like 15% for administrative costs and 12% for program delivery. There's some differences overall on the grant.
So that's where the 1.3 million comes down to 900,000.
Yeah, I'd have to do, I haven't done the exact math for this particular scenario, but that's about how we're.
And so someone that qualifies, so I think I read it's up to $40,000.
Well, The projects are up to $40,000
Per household.
per household. DHCD will occasionally grant a single case waiver if that isn't enough, and now often isn't. Because we are required to any house that was built prior to 1978 has to have a lead paint test, and we do have to do some remediation of lead paint, which is very costly. But we can get some single case waivers if we absolutely need to.
Because I also read with almost 44% being low to moderate income,
That's right.
we're going to have probably a lot of people that want to take advantage of
I
this.
think you will.
Yeah, it's great.
I think that a very strong case can be made for Clarksburg with this grant.
Is that why we were asked to be the third in this, or?
I am always looking for a way to bring this program to as many individuals across the county as possible. This is, again, it's a HUD program. DHCD doesn't really have any option in how this gets addressed, but, you know, essentially anyone who is income eligible really ought to be able to access these funds. But because the CDBG program is set up the way it is, the funds have to be funneled through a municipality. So BRPC can't just have at this point, cannot just have a regional, CDBG or housing rehab program. We have to run it through some town or other. So I'm always looking to stretch, our potential for getting to reaching more and more communities.
So roughly, if there's 300,000, we'll say, that comes to Clarksburg, 40,000 being your limit, does that mean like 7 families will actually?
That's very, 7 to 8 is what I'm thinking we'll get. Because not all of them are 40,000. Some of them are, that's not enough, but others come in at 30. It just depends on what a lot of roofs, a lot of windows,
Burnt heating systems?
heating systems, although we try to work with the Weatherization Board, BCAC, on that, and try to share it, work out.
And so there's no payback. You can't sell your house for 15 years,
Well, it's not that you cannot sell your house.
but you have to pay back.
It's that you will have to pay back whatever the remaining balance is. It decreases every year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, what if you just pass your house on from family to generation to generation?
If it actually changes ownership, then the lien requirement would kick in. However, it is a forgivable loan. So if we have made loans to people who are over 65, and that's always their first question. And I really, it's not up to me to promise what a particular select board would choose to do 5 years down the road, but in a situation like that, I strongly suggest that the heirs approach the select board and ask to be, have the loan forgiven.
It really sounds like a win-win situation.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good, nice program.
Yeah,
Nice
it
program.
is a great program, and we've done a lot of great work, and we have, just because of the way things have worked out, we have worked more in South County, and I'm looking forward to getting further north. One of the limitations of the program is contractors who are willing to, there are, some issues with red tape.
Do you have a list of contracts,
Yep.
contractors that were?
Yeah, and we think that as we move further north, we'll probably get more interest from contractors.
I think it's a great program.
And, so
Really sounds
we're
it,
really
yeah.
looking to, we think North County needs housing rehab as badly as South
Oh,
County,
yeah.
which is
Yeah.
it's just a
Some
question.
people just don't have that, the expendable incomes to do those things.
Right,
It's a perfect
exactly,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I wish it could be an even bigger program, to be perfectly honest. It's a little bit tough to administer it. It's challenging. It's
Oh,
one
yeah,
part.
it is. Not everybody needs something, and not everybody can get it, but.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotion about the whole thing too, but we have a housing rehab specialist. Will go out and we'll look at, we'll meet with the homeowner and do a initial inspection, decide what needs to be done. We do have to make repairs to code violations, and we have to do the lead thing, but we come up with a set of specifications. The homeowner has to approve of that, has to
Yeah.
agree to it before
Yeah.
we get started, and then so forth with contractors.
Is this like a first come, first served basis type of thing? Or do you identify say like you had 20 people,
We-
20 homeowners came in.
DHCD allows us to structure the program in different ways, and we have been trying to do first come, first serve recently. We've tried other things. We've tried prioritizing septics or prioritizing homes with older individuals or handicapped
Yeah,
individuals.
yeah.
First come, first serve seems to work the best, but there's a lot of steps along the way where it's not about who got their application in first, it's who has everything completed.
Right.
All of their income eligibility, stuff. And obviously, we also have to check with the towns to make sure they're up to date on their taxes and that they have homeowners insurance.
Insurance,
And if
yeah.
they are in a floodplain, they have to have flood insurance.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of rules for this program, and it's it's a challenging program to run.
I think it's a great
Does a lot of
program.
good.
Understanding that you have to meet a certain criteria, the homeowner does,
Right.
but I think it's a great program.
Right.
How would somebody like watching this right now, who do they go to? How do they apply?
Okay, so as part of the grant application, we do need to develop a waiting list or a list of interested parties. And so we have brought some things with us. We have found in the past that some people prefer just to call in, and so our posters that we would put up around town would give them the information for how to call in and get their name on the list. But some people don't want to talk directly to another individual about this. They would, they'd prefer to put their name and address into a box. So we have brought some ballot boxes repurposed for that. And we can leave one here at Town Hall, and maybe you can make a suggestion about, is the library the next best place to have one?
Maybe senior center, no?
Or the senior
No.
center.
No, no.
So this is my colleague, Gwen Caridi. She lives in
Oh,
North
yeah.
Adams, and so she will be in this area quite a bit, and so she'll take care of, distributing those posters and boxes around town. And
Okay.
then, but essentially, they would call Laura Dorr, D-O-R-R, at Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, and her number is 413-442-1521, extension 23. And she'll take care of putting the name on the list for the application purposes. If the grant is funded, the first thing we'll do is contact all of those people. The next thing we probably will do is a house-to-house mailing. And we might work with the town, with some towns will allow a message to go out at tax time in that envelope, so
Yeah.
that we make sure everyone gets it. It's just informing them, one way or another, we'll get the word out to every household that we're here and we're taking applications. And
Okay.
that's how.
Great. Yeah, we can dispatch too.
Okay.
We
So I do have, though, with me a memorandum of understanding, and I'm hoping, is it possible for you to take action on something like that?
I think it's a great program. I think there's enough
Copy for each
checks and balances along the way that makes it make sense. How about you? What do you feel about it, Joe?
Yeah, I kind of wish Danielle was here, but
I know it's a time-sensitive type of situation.
Yeah, and if we have to act on it, I gotta say I'm all for it.
Yeah, I am too. I think it's a win-win,
Okay.
for some of these people in Clarksburg that don't have the means to do this
Right.
necessary repairs or whatever they need to do. It gives them a great venue, another avenue for them
Right.
to go. And it's a commitment on both sides, you know what I mean? So
That's
it's
right.
good. Yeah.
Did you get an email, Kathy?
Yes, I did, and I can't say enough about what regional planning, I've worked with Pat before on the most recent one that we did down in Otis, and it's wonderful, it's a great program, as long as, people, like she said, the most important thing is for people to maintain their confidentiality, and,
Yeah,
we
this
have
is
the
important.
process set up to do
Of
that,
course.
so.
Yeah.
But it's, again, given the age of the homes here in Clarksburg, and, we obviously meet, it's going to be wonderful.
And I would also like to encourage, not to distract you from this, because I would like action on the
Yeah.
MOU, but I'd like to encourage you to think about CDBG for other purposes too in the
Yeah.
future.
You know what
Yeah.
I think you guys have a lot to offer, and I think sometimes people don't realize how much.
Right,
You have.
right. The Community Development Block Grant can do work such as the ADA.
Oh, yes.
Improvements on municipal properties.
Like the school, would that be, the
Well,
school
it
would fall under
depends
that?
on who owns it,
The school, the town.
yeah. So in that
Yeah.
case, yeah,
Yeah.
that we,
Yeah.
but I think, there's other types of projects, infrastructure projects and planning projects.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different things that
Yeah.
CDBG can do.
Yeah.
It's a once-a-year application, and this one's due March 6th.
Yeah, okay.
So, we can't really, at this late date, offer other types of projects for you, but I
Yeah.
can say that in future years, you should think about CDBG for
Right.
other things.
Well, that's good.
I already have a list started.
Okay.
The master plan, the ADA issues, I have a meeting with the school this week too on that, just so that we can start working on our list and be presenting it to regional planning.
Can we make a motion?
I'm not quite sure how to make it, but I would,
I would think we would move into an agreement with a CDBG grant.
With BRPC.
BRPC.
To submit the
DRPC?
grant, yeah.
PC for the,
grant application.
yeah. Is that that we need to do?
Mhm.
I'll make a motion that we move into agreement with BRPC for a grant application for the, how else would I word it?
CDBG grant, FY20.
FY20, for FY20.
Yeah.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, no, so.
So,
You just need to sign off
I
on
just
here?
need you to sign it.
I'll sign it,
That's
Tommy,
right.
underneath me, John?
Thank you.
Sure, I think you only need your,
That's all right. Cheers on it, sir.
thank you.
No.
And Rebecca, perhaps you can, is it okay for us to leave these here? What would
Oh,
be a
yeah,
good
you can
location
leave
where
everything
folks-
with me and I'll
Okay.
work
Are
on
you
it.
gonna leave over? Hand
Yeah.
out some things? Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we'll decide where we're going to place things. You can just leave things on the table if you
Do
want.
you want us to just leave one box or two?
You can leave both here and then
Okay.
we'll plan on.
You need this?
Thank you very much, I do.
Both our signatures are on here.
All right, appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you,
Good to see you
ladies.
again.
It's a
Thank
great, it's a
you.
great program.
Okay, good. And you can have your.
It's a great program.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just in case you have any questions.
Yeah.
Say hi to
Okay.
Mary Lou.
I will, Gwen, thank you.
If you have questions, ask her because
All right. All right, thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
our logo is about to change, so these might be valuable someday.
Might be.
All right.
Thank
thanks
you.
a lot,
All
folks.
right, ladies. Appreciate it.
Very welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, public comments? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 6:37.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.